My name's Lar M, a grateful recovered addict. I've recovered today with the power of God, who I call to choose love as well, the 12 steps and clear cut direction from the big book. I've recovered from the seemingly hopeless state of mind that told me I was always going to be, in my words, a two-bit junkie. Oh, a methadone crack fiend to the day I died. I sort of wore it with a badge of honor because I didn't know any different. But before I start, I'd just like to welcome anybody new to the meeting here tonight, or anyone new to CA. You know, what a wonderful life that's on offer. I'd also like to welcome anybody that's been around a little while and maybe, as the big book would talk about, resting on our laurels, or another fancy word for doing F all. You're very welcome too. And then I'd also like to welcome Santa and his helper there too. And thank you for bringing me along to share my experience, strength, and hope. So, I'm just going to start off by a description of my higher power, because I was thinking about it earlier, and I crack myself up. I find myself very amusing, by the way. But my higher power reminds me of Scrooge today. Fucking Scrooge, typical of this time of year. The reason being, it helps me deal with the emotional and physical scars of my past. And then it also helps me carry and accept the pain of my present. And then it helps me to be free, and it removes any fears I have of the future. So it's quite fitting for me. And all I have to try and do is live in the now, which, by the way, I can struggle to do on any given day. But what I'd like to talk about is what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And as a gauge to reflect on the past, I think it's quite poignant that it's Christmas night here. And if I was to reflect back on some of the Christmases I remember from the past and gauge my social or economic life around that, because some of them were quite challenging. And when I look back, it sort of represents how I was in my own life. When I think about the scars of my past, I think about the behavior and the attitude I was, or I behaved, even without a substance in my body. Even before I put substances in, I was always one of them little gobby mouthy kids, who would hurt people and abuse people. And then I take a substance and I get filled with this false sense of Superman, fucking hero, ego, whatever it may be. And I think I'm something I'm not. And I can just describe my drug use, because I didn't really have a drug of choice. I had drugs of no choice, because every drug I took, I became passionate about. Passionate. I say passionate. I'd fucking love it. I would absolutely love it. And I wouldn't put it down and move on to another drug. I'd take that and another drug. And then I would move on to other substances and I'd have them. And I was like my own little pharmacist in my own little way. But I didn't understand at the time. I just thought I was out having a good time. And it all revolved around me and other people. When I reflect back on what it was like for me, it was a social aspect, because before I took drugs, I was an awkward, poor, little shy, little timid little child. But when I was introduced to substances, I was around, in my head, I was around bigger, tougher, more people who commanded respect and commanded this and commanded that. But I didn't realize it was just all fear and intimidation that was being given out to people. I didn't understand that. But I lapped it up. I lapped it up. And I started to behave and think in a way that I never imagined I would behave. So when I mean I started to behave, which means I started causing harm to my loved ones. I started causing harm to my neighbors, my community. Because when I put something into my body, physiologically I change. I only know now, when I look back in hindsight, I turn into something that's not even me. It's not a representation of me and my spirit. It's a representation of my defect and my negativity. It's a fucking horrible person. And I stayed like that for quite a number of years. I'd say 25, 28, 20, something like that, years of being an absolute disgrace to the human fucking planet. Okay? Because that's the way it was. Not only to my family, to anyone who came into contact with me. I was just like a methadone crackhead. And that's what I done. I just blazed my way through life. But at every meeting I go to, when we pause for a moment silent, my heart feels another little vibration, because it reminds me of the damage I've done to my loved ones. And when I mean my loved ones, I mean my children, because I can talk about this today. The suffering I put them through, the emotional pain I put them through, the physical suffering I put them through. Because I was 16 when I had my first son, and I went on to have 4 sons with the lady I was with. Now, I'm saying this now because the Christmases, I can gauge it off the Christmases I had. Some of the Christmases I had were very challenging and very fucking tough and very hard. And some of them were in abundance. And when I look back at the ones that were in abundance and plentiful, it was all addiction related. Everything in it was addiction related. We didn't have social media then, because I'm like a dinosaur, you know. Fucking, when I look back at my past, the fucking toys were made out of different fucking stuff. So my past was quite chaotic, but I would hide it through buying stuff. I would hide it through, I wouldn't even say buying stuff. That's probably a lie, actually. Okay, robbing stuff and sourcing stuff. That's another lovely word of putting on it, sourcing it. And I gave my children a false sense of, I can buy your love, and I tried to buy their love. Where I grew up in Dublin, in a place in Dublin where we grew up on horses and motorbikes, on chaos and antisocial, and that was just normal. That was, nobody blinked an eyelid, because that's what you've done. And that's where I fed my children into that. You know, when I look back now, fucking hell, man. Oh my God. And that's why when I think about the past, the emotional scars that's attached to that, because I introduced certain behaviors, certain attitudes to those who love me, and I blocked off the ones that tried to help me. So when I talk about my addiction wasn't pretty and nice and all fluffy and white powder and Colombian fucking snowflakes. No, it was absolutely chaos and carnage, manipulation and dishonesty. Dishonesty and manipulation were the biggest things. And criminality, and I mean criminality as in petty fucking thieving. If you turned your back, I'd rob your phone. You know, that kind of way. Like, it's not, I wasn't robbing fucking Vodafone. I was robbing your phone. And it just brought me to a place where I was isolated. Absolutely isolated. And I can only gauge my spiritual awakening from the point when I became aware my spirit was awake. And that happened when I met some people. I met them in Dublin, and one of them shouted over to me, Lar, there is a way out. And I didn't know what he was talking about. They had found a way out through a 12-step fellowship, to the CA 12-step fellowship. And he had let a roar over to me that, Lar, there is a way out. Now, in the setting I was in, I was on the back of a horse. I was jockeying up the road in Dublin. I was going up to score drugs. So I was so far away from recovery. But yet them words that he said to me that night got through. They got fucking through. I couldn't believe it. I seen him the next day and I said, what are you on about? There's a way out. So I'm not locked up. I'm not in prison. He said, Lara, it doesn't have to be like this. And he brought me to my first CA meeting. I couldn't fucking believe it. I walked into the room of CA and there's all the other fuckers that I didn't like there smiling back at me. And I'm like, fuck, I owe half of them money. They didn't want the money on me. They wanted to smile and they wanted me to get well. And now I'm talking about myself. When I came into the fellowship, I was on 100 mils of methadone. I was on 3 fucking Dalmain 5s, Dalmain 15s. I was on fucking Zimmos and I was on Tamarazepam. And that was just my get out of bed drugs. That wasn't the street drugs that I'd acquired all through the day. But something in that meeting gave me some glimmer of hope. And the words rang in my ears, Lar, there is a way out. It doesn't have to be like this. So off I trotted, went to treatment. Treatment is part of my story. It might be part of yours. I went to treatment. I'm trying to give you the short version on a Christmas night without bringing everyone to fucking misery. I went into treatment. I got drug-free. This was in 2006. One of the reasons I went into treatment was my life was under threat and all that stupid fucking stuff that comes with it. A friend of mine had been murdered and I had a good idea. I'd go to treatment. Went into treatment. and came out of treatment, tried to do it my way, got a couple of days, and was back taking crack. Now, the logic of this is, I'm only going to smoke it. I'm not going to inject it. Now, that was my best idea that fucking day. So off I went on with my little plan, and before I knew it, years had elapsed again. Years. And it was about 2009. I came back into the Fellowship of CA, got substance free again, went to a treatment centre again, got down there, and I got introduced to the 12 steps. And when I came out, I went through the process of the 12 steps. And the reason I'm saying this is I went through the process of the 12 steps, but I didn't practice the 12 steps. I went through them as if I was driving a robbed car up the fucking road. I couldn't wait to get through them. Okay. And at the end of them, I got another good idea to smoke a bit of crack. And again, it was my best idea that day. And the reason I'm saying it is because that was the past. And the chap that I set and used with that day, I talked to him about the 12 steps as the two of us consumed drugs. That's how deluded and sick I was. Now, that chap is no longer with us. He went on to take his own life, dead by suicide, a couple of months after that. And I didn't even see that he was suffering when I was in that relapse. And I was only back using a few hours and I didn't even see it. I went from in meetings to hopelessness within a couple of hours. Fucking couldn't believe it. Okay. Now, my clean time is the 4th of September 2011. I'm 14 years sobriety, substance free, and living a fucking wonderful life. The reason I'm saying that is I'm not saying if you used to like me. I'm saying it because my children tell me it's a fucking blessing. It's an absolute blessing. And when I say children, they're adult men. Adult men, okay? Now, unfortunately, one of them is in prison. One of them is highly in addiction and has his own consequences. And one of them suffers with his own mental health. Now, did I do that? Don't know. Did I play a part in it? Yes, I fucking did. Do I add to it today? No, I don't. No, I don't. Today, what it's like today, present. Today, I get up in the morning, I write a gratitude list. I'm grateful for the things I have today. I'm grateful for the pain of my past. I'm grateful for the wreckage of my present, because my wreckage is not my past, my wreckage is my present. And I'm grateful that I can show and receive love today. I read page 86 of the big book. Why do I read it? Because it's a set of instructions for me to go out for the day. I don't need to sit here and bring people through a whole 12 steps, because you need to go off and have your own experience. But my experience is I went from a hopeless drug addict to someone who had hope in their life. And today I absolutely have hope in my life today. Even just reflecting on the day I had, and the yesterday and today I had. Last night I was able to ferry fucking presents around like Santa Claus to my grandkids. First of all, because their dad's in prison, he could fucking do it, you know. But secondly, because I was in a position that I could do it, which is the most wonderful thing to do. I was able to do that. I was able to bring presents over. Now, this is the funny part. I was able to bring presents over with my current fiance, who I'm getting married to next year. Bring presents over to my ex-wife. Bring presents over to my ex-partner. And give them with love. Now, if you had told me that a couple of years ago that I'd have been doing that, I'd have laughed in your fucking face, because I was a good man, even in recovery, without a program for bitterness and hatred and judgment. Terrible, terrible fucking life I had for that. And it wasn't until I came into contact with the sponsorship line I'm in now, and I'm in it, I don't know, 5 years or a bit more. Before that, I had periods of trying to sponsor myself in CA. I don't recommend that to anybody. I highly, highly fucking recommend that you get yourself a sponsor and stay connected. Because I had periods of, let's just say, sobriety, where I wanted to nearly take my own life whilst in a meeting. Couldn't hear the thing, didn't hear the message, couldn't hear anything. But it came to a point where I reached out to a man who smashed me through the steps again, who got me reconnected to my higher power, who I had disconnected from. And from that day to this day, my life has fucking rocketed. And when I mean rocketed into a fourth dimension, I absolutely mean it. You know, today I'm present in my life. Today I have a wonderful life. Today I have dreams, hopes, and ambitions, but I don't get caught in them. I'm able to live in the moment. I'm able to live now. I'm so fucking far away from the behavior and the thinking that I used to be that sometimes I have to remind myself. And I do that by doing it in my list in the morning times. 5 things I don't have to do today. You know? Don't have to sit in a cell. Don't have to feel sorry for myself. Don't have to try and kill myself just to get me away from myself. And most importantly, I don't have to take a drug to change how I feel or the behavior. That's a fucking miracle for me. I could never. When they promised me that I'd never have to drink and use again, I didn't believe them. So why would I believe them? I don't believe people because I think everyone's like me when they're not. You know. But today, I'm able to say to anybody in this room, to any newcomer in this room, that there is a way out. And I'm talking about the newcomer because I know what it was like to be a newcomer, especially at Christmas night coming into the rooms. Because if you're anything like me, you're after coming in from fucking chaos. But you're probably going back out the fucking chaos. So it's just to be mindful of that we're not all living fucking great spiritual lives in here. And we're not all connected. There's a lot of pain and there's a lot of suffering that comes with active addiction and early recovery. But there's also a lot of pain and suffering that comes with disconnecting and recovery. So I can only speak from my experience, and I have experience of living in them phases of my life. The big book talks about it, phases of your recovery of my development. And the reason I'm not going to talk about all the steps and the experience of the steps is because it was pretty quick for me. Steps 1 to 3, I discovered what everyone else discovered, that Lars is selfish, inconsiderate feck. You know, from steps 4 to 9, I could see the truth of how I operated, how I mastered my defects and hid behind them. You know, even when kind, I'm a manipulator. You know, and then I became awake, and today I'm awake, and I want to stay awake. I'm spiritually awake today to steps 10, 11, and 12. It's funny because when I look at my life today, my whole life and my existence nearly is created and developed towards helping other people, thinking of other people, even when I don't want to do it. It seems as if I fucking automatically do it. And it's not that I'm people pleasing or self-seeking. I've done it. I'm doing it in a way because I know what's waiting for me. I know by going through my step 1, and I'll talk about my powerlessness because I know I will drink and I will use again. It's just a matter of time if I disconnect. I have a wonderful life today. I have a beautiful fiance, beautiful fucking children. I have beautiful relationships with my family, who I struggle with. I struggle with it, but they're beautiful. You know, I have a career, I have a bank account, I have a driver's license, I have all these kinds of stuff. But none of them is enough to stop me using. None of them. I can put my hand on my heart. And it's not that I'm selling their love away. I'm just saying it because my experience of it. When I get hit with a mental obsession, which I have no human defense and no human power will stop me, I'm going back using. And I don't know when, what moment, or when that's going to come. So today, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to do that. Today, I'll get up, and as I said, I will write my gratitude list. Even if it's fucking the struggle to do it, I'll do it. I will read page 86 to 88. Even if my mind is not in it, my actions is in it because I'm there. I will get on my knees and pray to something who I don't know. Today it's like Scrooge and love. I haven't got a fucking clue. But it gets me through it. And then I will think and I will help other people. Even this morning, even now. There's a wonderful life just waiting for me to jump back into now when I get off this meeting. But in order for me to be able to jump back into it, I have to be here. Now, I would have loved to say, listen, Dave, you and fucking the elf there have it. You don't need me here tonight. Okay? I'm out of here. But that won't keep me in recovery. It will not keep me in it. 24 hours a day, in me, through me, or I will suffer. I have to put the work in for this. First of all, I'm accountable to this group. I'm accountable to my home group. I'm accountable to my sponsor. I'm accountable to my sponsees. And most importantly, I'm accountable to any newcomers here tonight. Because if I come in here and say I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm living a life a different way, well, then I'm a fraud and a fake. And my sponsor was quite clear. He made it a point at the start. You become a conspiracy to murder, Lar, if you behave like that. It's up there with the lovely 13th step and kind of stuff. You're going to become a conspiracy to murder. So fucking watch your behavior and behave yourself. You're in recovery now. You're not just clean, living a gangster fucking GS head on you going around, you know, thinking you're something when you're nothing. You're a fucking ex-drug addict. But today my life is wonderful. Today I walk in the field of addiction. It doesn't keep me clean and sober. It pays my bills. It allows me to have a life, to pay fucking for stuff. Do I get to help people? Yes, but I get paid to do it. I get paid money to do it. So it's not like I get sitting down with a sponsee, bringing them to the work, or being accountable to someone, or coming on a meeting and speaking to newcomers, or going to a meeting and giving numbers. That's the work the people talk about, the service, putting in the service, sitting down with another alcoholic and addict and bringing them to the 12-step program and helping their hand fall into a hand of God as they choose to have it. And just even by being here now, my spirit knows that I'm in the right place with the right people. Now, I don't know about any of yous, but I'll probably need Google Translator to fucking understand yous. And yous will probably need Google Translator to understand me. Or you're probably saying, that cunt's talking a bit fast. But I can tell you one thing. If you were with me on cocaine, you think I would talking fast now? You want to see me when I'm taking that stuff? Jesus Christ. You know? But today I'm in with a chance. Today I'm in with a chance to show love, appreciation, and affection to my fellows here, to my higher power, and to my family. So what I am going to do is I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to thank you for allowing me to come and share my experience, strength, and hope with you here tonight. So Santa and the elf, thank you for allowing me to come.